The hum of the starship Aurora's wing was a constant companion as Captain Eli Calder gazed out through the observation deck's reinforced glass. Beyond the curved pane of transparent alloy, the cosmos stretched in endless ribbons of starlight and shadow. But it wasn't the stars that had drawn his attention tonight. It was her. She was tiny, barely the size of a human child's hand, but her presence radiated a subtle authority. The alien, whom the crew had taken to calling Luma due to her bioluminescent skin, had a curious ritual. Every time a human approached, she bowed. Not once, not casually, but deeply, repeatedly, as though it were the most natural thing in the universe. Eli had watched this for weeks. At first, he thought it was mere politeness. But the intensity of her gestures, the way she lowered her head until her forehead nearly touched the deck floor, suggested something deeper, something rooted in her culture. "Captain," said Lieutenant Juno, interrupting his reverie. Her voice was soft, almost hesitant. "She's bowing again." Eli turned to see Luma on the deck, her delicate, iridescent limbs folding with precision, bow after bow, before the engineering officer who had wandered near. There was no hesitation in her movements, no impatience. Just unwavering, ritualistic respect. "Maybe it's her way of greeting?" Eli suggested, though his tone lacked conviction. He had met aliens before, but none so small, so meticulous in ritual. Juno shook her head. "It's every human, sir. Doesn't matter who. Even you." Eli frowned. "Every human?" "Yes. And she keeps track," Juno added, lowering her voice. "I've been timing it. Each bow lasts roughly 2.7 seconds. She does exactly 12 per person, then she stops. It's precise." Eli's curiosity shifted into something else. Intrigue. This wasn't a greeting. This was tradition. And he intended to find out why. The first attempt. The next day, Eli approached Luma himself. He knelt down on one knee, trying to meet her eye level, but she didn't respond to casual human gestures. Instead, she bowed. Once. Twice. 12 times, in perfect rhythm. When she straightened, her tiny wings shimmered faintly in the starship's artificial light. Eli smiled, unsure whether to feel honored or embarrassed. "All right, Luma," he said gently. "I get it. Tradition. Can you tell me more about it?" She cocked her head and emitted a sound that resonated like chimes struck in a gentle breeze. The translator implanted in her collar, a device borrowed from the Intergalactic Cultural Exchange, attempted to interpret, and a mechanical voice echoed in the room. "Humans honored. Bowing preserves respect. It is tradition." "Tradition?" Eli asked, leaning closer. "Why humans? Why not your own species?" Luma's eyes, vast and luminescent, blinked once. The translator struggled, but eventually pieced together her words. "Mini-race remembers first contact. Humans saved ancestors. Bowing maintains memory, protects harmony." Eli's mind raced. This small being, so fragile in appearance, carried the weight of an entire historical debt. He hadn't realized humans were regarded as saviors in this quadrant, let alone by a species so diminutive and meticulous in their customs. A history hidden in shadows. Eli spent the next week combing through the ship's archives, seeking records of humans' interactions with Luma's species, the Volari. References were scarce. The Volari had always been secretive, living in dense, bioluminescent forests on their homeworld of Valera 3, a planet smaller than Mercury, but teeming with life. Humans had stumbled upon them during an early colonization mission decades ago. The log entries told a story of devastation. Human explorers had inadvertently caused a chemical spill that threatened the Volari forests. Entire colonies were on the brink of extinction. Yet, Through a combination of human ingenuity and risk-taking, the disaster was averted. Many Volari perished, but enough survived to continue their civilization. And Luma? She was a descendant of those survivors. Her people had preserved a ritual of bowing to all humans, a constant reminder of the dead ode, and a vow of ongoing respect. Eli leaned back, rubbing his temples. This wasn't just a cute quirk. It was history, culture, and remembrance wrapped in a single gesture. The crew reacts. The crew of the Aurora's wing had varied reactions. Some found Luma's behavior amusing. Engineer Tarek laughed every time she performed her 12 bows before him, calling it alien karaoke. Others were wary. Medical officer Dr. Hara noted the strain it must put on her tiny body. She's exerting herself, Hara said, monitoring Luma's vitals. 12 bows isn't much for a human, but for her size, it's a lot. We need to be careful. Eli nodded. We respect tradition, yes, but not at the cost of her health. Yet no one could deny the effect her ritual had on the ship. Morale improved. The crew became more conscious of each other, more respectful of differences, more attuned to culture and history. Even the AI, Eris, adjusted its voice modulation, bowing verbally whenever it addressed a human. Luma's tradition was reshaping the human's behavior, subtly but profoundly. An unexpected threat. The calm, ritualistic life aboard the Aurora's wing shattered when the ship encountered a pirate vessel in the outer nebula. Aboard the Crimson Fong, mercenaries sought rare bioluminescent species for the black market. Luma was a prime target. Captain Calder, Juno shouted. Pirates! They're scanning for her. Eli's eyes narrowed. Shields up. Protect the mini-alien at all costs. Luma, sensing the danger, began her ritual in reverse. Instead of bowing to humans, she moved with incredible speed, her tiny frame darting between the crew, guiding them subtly to shield her. The translator garbled her sounds, but the intent was clear. Survival through tradition, through knowledge passed down in gestures and rhythm. The humans fought back with every tool at their disposal. Laser turrets, gravity nets, and plasma shields flared across the void. And throughout it all, Luma continued her subtle communication, her bows evolving into tactical signals. She's directing us, Tarek shouted in awe. She's using her tradition as a command system. Eli's jaw tightened. Then let's follow her lead. In a coordinated effort guided by Luma's movements, the crew disabled the pirates' engines, forcing them into a safe surrender. When the battle was over, Luma returned to her ritualistic bowing, 12 deep gestures for each human, this time tinged with relief rather than ceremony. A cultural revelation. In the aftermath, Eli requested a private moment with Luma. They were alone in the observation deck, stars stretching infinitely beyond. You're remarkable, Eli said softly. You've turned a tradition into a lifeline. And you didn't just save yourself, you helped save us. Luma bowed once, a small, graceful gesture. Then, through the translator, she spoke. Tradition preserves memory. Action honors history. Humans helped ancestors. I protect humans. Harmony continues. Eli smiled. So, bowing isn't just respect. It's strategy, it's memory, it's survival. She blinked once, and her tiny wings flared faintly, a shimmer of pride or acknowledgement. For Eli, a realization dawned. Humans often approach space with arrogance, thinking power and technology were the measures of influence. But Luma's world and her traditions revealed a deeper truth. Respect, memory, and ritual could wield power just as effectively as any weapon. The bond solidifies. Over the following weeks, Luma's interactions deepened. The crew learned to interpret subtle variations in her bows, understanding nuances of emotion, urgency, and even humor. She became a bridge between cultures, a reminder that the smallest gestures could carry immense meaning. Eli documented everything, planning to share the knowledge with the Intergalactic Cultural Exchange. Luma's tradition would become a case study in how alien rituals could influence human behavior and vice versa. One evening, as the Aurora's wing coasted through the emerald clouds of the Orion Drift, Luma performed her ritual in the presence of the entire crew. 12 bows for each human, precise, deliberate, and filled with history. The crew, in turn, bowed in respect, not because it was required, but because they understood. Tradition, they realized, was not a relic of the past. It was a living thread connecting them, reminding them that history, respect, and honor were universal currencies, even across light years and species. Eli watched her, heart swelling. "We'll keep honoring your tradition," he whispered, "and you will keep teaching us." Luma's bioluminescent skin pulsed softly, almost like a smile. 12 bows. 12 beats of history, memory, and respect. 12 small gestures with infinite meaning. Epilogue. Years later, the legend of the mini-alien and her 12 bows spread across human colonies. Diplomatic missions to Valera 3 cited the tradition as a model for interspecies respect. Children in space academies learned about Luma's ritual, not as a curiosity, but as a lesson. Even the smallest being could wield the greatest influence through patience, respect, and remembrance. Eli retired as captain, but he kept a small, intricately carved replica of Luma on his desk. Every morning, he bowed to it, remembering the tiny alien who had taught humanity that traditions were more than customs. They were lifelines, bridges, and legacies. And somewhere in the glowing forests of Valera 3, Luma continued her bows, 12 at a time, for humans who had saved her ancestors, ensuring that history and harmony endured in every gesture. Years passed aboard the Aurora's wing and beyond. Luma grew, not in size, but in legend. Her tiny form remained delicate, but her influence became monumental. Colonies across the Orion Quadrant began to learn of her tradition. 12 bows, precise and deliberate, for each human. What had begun as a survival ritual had transformed into a symbol of trust, respect, and interspecies harmony. Captain Eli Calder had long retired from active duty, but he carried Luma's lessons with him every day. On the walls of his home, there were star charts, holographic projections of alien worlds, and, at the center, a small, intricately carved replica of Luma, her wings spread mid-bow. Each morning, Eli would bow before it. 12 gestures precise, just like hers, honoring a debt older than he could fully comprehend. The Intergalactic Cultural Exchange cited Luma's ritual as a case study in cross-species diplomacy. Her tradition became a teaching tool, a reminder that the smallest gestures often carried the deepest meaning. Astronauts, diplomats, and explorers were trained not only in technology and combat but also in respect and cultural memory, inspired by a creature no larger than a child's hand. On Valera 3, Luma continued her own practice. In the glowing bioluminescent forests of her homeworld, she moved gracefully among the massive flora of her ancestors. Each bow was a remembrance, a tribute to the humans who had saved her people. The other Valari, initially wary of humans, began to adopt the tradition themselves, and soon, even diplomatic meetings between Valari and humans were punctuated with 12 bows of mutual respect. Yet Luma's greatest gift was not the ritual itself. It was the understanding she imparted. She showed humans that history, respect, and memory were currencies as valuable as any technology or weapon. She taught that even the tiniest being could wield influence, that kindness and honor could change the course of civilizations, and that traditions were living threads connecting past and present, species and world. One quiet evening, Eli visited Valera, 3 as a retired diplomat. Standing amidst the glowing forest, he saw Luma bowing to a group of human ambassadors. 12 bows for each, perfect in precision, but infused with warmth, trust, and pride. When she turned toward him, her eyes pulsed with a gentle luminescence, the alien equivalent of a smile. Eli approached, knelt, and bowed. 12 bows, each a bead of memory, gratitude, and honor. Luma responded in kind, and for a moment, the boundaries of species, size, and time seemed to dissolve. Tradition had forged a bridge wider than any starship, stronger than any alliance. The legend of Luma, the mini-alien who bowed to humans, endured. And somewhere in every corner of the galaxy, explorers and settlers repeated the ritual in their own way, remembering that respect and history were not mere customs. They were lifelines, guiding lights, and the foundation of harmony across the stars. As the twin suns of Valera, 3 set behind glowing forests, Luma performed one final bow of the day. 12 bows, a gesture of remembrance, a promise of peace, a story passed down through time. And humans, scattered among the stars, carried that story in their hearts, forever reminded that even the smallest being could leave the largest mark.